healthcare like
increased technology in education,
who is on what side of the digital divide?
focus on access to education.
Namaskar. A very warm welcome to one and all on this very special day, the International Education Day. This is indeed doubly special because it is also a special day for the girl child. And it is my pleasure to welcome all of you on this journey that Center for Civil Society has embarked on with FNF. And this has been a long journey, which has actually spanned more than a decade. Higher education has always been a very evocative topic for Indians, given the penchant for pursuing, well, more and more degrees. And in this regard, the foreign universities have always played a very aspirational role for Indians from small cities as well as the very large cities. Therefore, the University Grants Commissions, now opening up the market for foreign universities is really a very welcome step, because not only does it allow access to students of Indian origin with all that the world has to offer, but it also significantly has the potential of bringing down the cost of education in the event that Indian students choose to go overseas. And now they have it available here, in their own home turf. Now, there's a very, I think, a very timely quote that the UN Secretary General put out today on the occasion of the International Education Day. And this had 3 sentences. It went as follows. Education is a fundamental human right. It is the bedrock of societies, economies, and every person's potential. But without adequate investment, this potential will wither on the vine. Now, foreign universities really are a very significant part of this investment because, as we have witnessed previously, they not only help to improve the productivity of individuals, but actually fulfill a very, very large role that 1 in 7 of the global citizens actually has global exposure. There are lots of things that foreign universities need to pay attention to, and I'm sure our esteemed panel is going to dive deep into it and give us new insights. So there is the legal and regulatory requirement. India is, of course, a very thriving democracy, but the Indian laws and regulations sometimes can send the best of minds into a tizzy. There is the need to comply with the education laws, the land acquisition laws, foreign investment laws, to name a few. The cultural differences are significant. In fact, the Asian culture is very distinctly varied from most of the Western culture. And to that extent, foreign universities will need to be prepared to adapt to the Indian culture, including the difference in teaching styles and what students expect, the core level of competence that is expected out of students, as well as communication. We cannot forget that this is the post-pandemic years, and to that extent, the loss of learning has been well documented, and to that extent, I think that has to be compensated for by all educational institutions, including the higher educational institutions that come from the foreign universities. I think the third very important part is, which perhaps, of course, funded universities are well prepared for, is the investment that needs to be made in the form of infrastructure and resources. And this includes faculty, equipment, and just being able to meet up to these standards of education, both here and in their home countries. In this regard, foreign universities will do very well to look at partnerships and collaborations with Indian universities and organizations, because I think the advantage and the symbiotic relationship there is that the Indian organization can help the university really, navigate on the landscape of India, in both in terms of access to resources, expertise, as well as the norms of the land. I'll leave, in fact, the rest of the things for the panel to explore. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you the keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Benjamin Frank. Mr. Benjamin Frank is the head of RWTH Aachen University's India office since 2020, based in New Delhi. He holds a master's degree from Heidelberg University's South Asia Institute and an MBA from IU. Before joining RWTH, he worked with international teams at German and French organizations in India. Established in 1870, RWTH Aachen University is Germany's second largest technical university, with more than 47,000 students and an annual budget of over 1 billion euros. The university has a long-standing, strong partnership with Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and other India's top institutions. Indian nationals, in fact, form the second largest group of international students at the campus in Aachen. Welcome, Mr. Benjamin, and over to you to deliver your keynote address.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Lakshmi. And first, also let me thank the Center for Civil Society and Aumont Foundation and Dr. Klein for inviting me to give this keynote here at this highly expected and very interesting panel. I'm looking forward to it. So I will keep it brief. You already mentioned a few facts about our university, our long-standing relationship with the IIT Madras. So if you allow me, I would kind of touch a little bit upon the overall landscape between India and Germany in terms of university activity from Germany in India, and also go a little bit more into what my university is doing. So basically, RWTH Aachen is one of currently 6 public universities who have a physical presence in India. We are part of the so-called German Center for Research and Innovation based here in Delhi. And the university is actually active in India since the late 50s. I mean, many of you might know that a couple of the early IITs were established with support from foreign countries, like the IIT Bombay with the Soviet Union, the IIT Delhi with the UK, and the IIT Madras was established with support from Germany, and there especially with support from the RWTH Aachen. So a long history that connects our university with India, especially with the IIT Madras. And over the years, this relationship has expanded into a strategic partnership. We have cooperation going on in a variety of fields across basically all kinds of institutes and faculties. And one of the flagship projects that has been going on for over 10 years is the Indo-German Center for Sustainability, where RWTH Aachen is cooperating with several other German universities, technical universities, and the IIT Madras Center is located at the IIT Madras. And since last year, actually, we have a second major project that is also funded by the German Academic Exchange Service, and that is a Global Climate and Water Adaptation Center. Again, a cooperation, like I mentioned, between RWTH, IIT Madras, and actually also TU Dresden in Germany and the IIT Bangkok in Thailand, and the UNO Flores, which is also located in Dresden. So that gives already an idea. Again, 6 public universities with a physical presence actually in India. 2 more are supporting universities, associated supporters of the German Center for Research and Innovation, which don't have a physical presence in India, but also have many activities going on, cooperations with universities. When it comes to also like our physical presence here, I'm personally based in Delhi, but since last year, we also have actually a second presence in Pune. That is actually the RWTH International Academy, which is the official academy for further education. So basically coming back, also circling the presence here, but also what is the Indian presence in Aachen. I'm always happy to mention that our university has around 1,800 Indian students currently. If you tie that into the overall number in Germany of over 34,000 Indian students currently, that is a sizable number. And yeah, we are happy to always expand that number, of course, and at the same time also working to promote Indian universities to our German students, so to foster the exchange also from the German side to India. And tying into the topic of the newly proposed campus setup of foreign universities, we can see that since RWTH has already a long-standing history, a lot of cooperation, not only with the IIT Madras, I would be remiss to mention also cooperations going on with the IIT Delhi, IIT Mandi, and for example, also the IISc Bangalore. We already are very engaged here. And so speaking for my university, currently there are no plans in setting up a campus. Rather, the focus will be in the time to come to even more deepen the cooperation and the relationships that we already have. I'm expanding on that. But I'm looking forward to the discussion today and actually gain some more insights into this really interesting topic. And yeah, happy to learn more. And that would be it from my side. And looking forward to the panel.
Thank you so much, Mr. Frank, for your wonderful examples of how the foreign institutions and the Indian institutions are working together since back in time, and also sharing us the small details of 34,000 Indian students studying in Germany. That shows the interest of Indian students studying in the international institutions. So my name is Vincent Belger. I'm from Friedrich Naumann Foundation, and our foundations works to promote education in, especially our office is working in throughout all the South Asian countries. Today, I'm here to introduce our moderator, Mr. Rohan Joshi. Mr. Rohan Joshi was previously the Associate Director of Research at Center for Civil Society. He has a long experience of working in the education and skill development sectors with wide variety of organizations ranging from NGOs, private companies, to government departments. He has led multiple large-scale projects in education sectors such as School Excellence Program of Mumbai Municipal Corporation, Skill Development Cell of the Department of Social Justice and Special Assistance, Government of Maharashtra. His specialization is in working with the government on both strategy and implementation of projects run in collaboration with non-government and private players. Rohan has a master's degree in education from Tata Institute of Social Sciences with specialization in language pedagogy and education policy. He is affiliated with a few non-government organizations in India in the capacity of advisor and board member. Rohan, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Tenzin. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Thank you, Lakshmi, for those opening remarks. It sets the context really nicely for today's session. We also have a large number of attendees who are there, and I'm assuming many of them are also students, or recent graduates from higher education institutes. So perhaps there is a lot of stake here in today's discussion. I'll first welcome all the three panelists who are there for the panel discussion today. I'll start in no particular order. Mr. Abhishek Ranjan, who's from Ministry of Education. He is an innovation officer there. I'm keeping the introduction brief. Please do add, Abhishek, if something that you would like to add specifically, your area of focus right now remains higher education and you work with universities to impact on the entrepreneurship and some of the interesting areas. It's wonderful to have you today as a panelist here. So welcome to the session and look forward to your insights and look forward to having a very engaging conversation with you. And also I hope to facilitate that with the rest of the audience. Dr. Swati Chawla, the next panelist we have. First, a friend. So wonderful to see you, Swati, after a long time. So it's really a new sort of way for us to be on the same panel. So I'm excited to hear you in this capacity. I know that you have deep insights into academia, both as a scholar that you are and as a professor. So excited to hear your thoughts, and also I'm sure the audience will be excited to hear from you. And we have Dyuti, who's a student, a law student, and also part of the Students for Liberty, if I'm not wrong. Dyuti, is that correct?
Yes,
So excellent students group. Perhaps in the conversation, maybe you have also a chance to talk to others about what Students for Liberty does, but excellent work that you do. So great to have you as well. And this nicely reminds me that in education, we consider there are maybe 3 or 4 very key sort of stakeholders. One, of course, the policy side, another is the teachers, professors, and the third being students. So we have all 3 of them here in the panel, and that's not just a coincidence, but it's a great opportunity for all of us to enrich ourselves with different perspectives. As I invite and welcome all the 3 panelists, I also extend the same invitation to our attendees that this panel just happens that the 3-4 of us are here, but I think it's very much a topic relevant to all of us. So we would really encourage you all to participate. One straightforward way is to write your messages, comments in the chat box. The platform, the forum doesn't allow us all to express our views, but those views matter. So we won't want to just stifle you with a strict question of one line. But if you would love to express, please express them in the chat box. I'll try and make sure that we read out some of the comments as we go along in the session. And I'm hoping that the panelists won't mind that either. And subsequently, we will have question and answer session as well. So if you keep sending the questions, we are happy to also somewhere pause in between and address those questions as we go along, rather than waiting for all the way at the end for you to raise your questions. So please feel free to share your questions. You can use the Q&A feature of Zoom, which I'm sure most of us are familiar with. If not, the easiest way, of course, is to put your questions in the chat box. I'm happy to pick them up from there. With this sort of logistical kind of introduction, I'm going to kickstart this conversation. I'm excited about it. Just as a very, very brief context is we know that on the 5th of January, UGC, the University Grants Commission, issued draft regulations, which are in line with the National Education Policy 2020, which wasn't released that long back, where it clearly states that inviting foreign universities and creating a regulatory framework which allows foreign universities to establish campuses in India is part of the National Education Policy's vision for higher education in India. So this move from UGC at the outset can be seen as a good sort of step forward towards implementation of NEP. A lot of our new national education policies previously, at least the 3 of them, have struggled with speedy and timely implementation. I think this move in that context, I welcome, and I also convey perhaps our congratulations to UGC and the Ministry of Education to take up this step forward and giving action orientation to the provisions of NEP. Now, having said that, what we also know is that India is one of the largest education system when it comes to higher education. Those who are unaware, from 2001 till now, we have had close to 400% increase in number of universities that have just opened in India. A large number of those universities are private universities. We had set a policy goal for ourselves to take our higher education enrollments to 32%. Please note that our education enrollments at elementary level are near 100%, whereas about 27% currently, perhaps 29% now, is the current rate of enrollments in higher education. So clearly there is a chance to improve access to education. It's just marginally below the mark that the ministry had set for itself of reaching 32% enrollments by 2022. So we are close to it, but in the larger scheme of things, far from ideal situation where only 29% students are able to make to higher education. Since today is a National Girl Child Day, it's important to mention higher education is perhaps one field where the girls' enrollment is 2% higher than boys' enrollment. So, which is encouraging again in the lower numbers totally that we have as far as enrollment is concerned. Now, in this context, we also know, by the way, from several industry reports that keep coming out, including some of the reports from credible government agencies such as National Skills Development Corporation, a semi-government agency, that employability is a major concern in India. A large number of fresh graduates when they join the job market, they are actually not employable, including in the very hard skills that they have learned, technical skills they have learned in their higher education. So one challenge is with access. Another, to an extent, clearly seems to be with quality of education. And the third, in general, is equity of opportunity. So equity challenge. So I hope that the panel discussion today focuses somewhere around these three themes: the access to higher education, quality of higher education, and equity in higher education. Of course, in the context of foreign universities coming to India, how does it talk to our current policy challenges vis-a-vis higher education in India? As always, needless to say, the panelists are really wonderful people. With Center for Civil Society and FNF, the role that we play in public policy discourse is of a constructive nature, that we contribute to the ongoing discourse in a manner that we go towards effective implementation of new rules and policies. So for attendees, all the participants, as well as for the panelists, let's maintain this wonderful constructive tone to the conversation. And over to Abhishek, perhaps, to just sort of share some quick thoughts, perhaps a little bit more of a vision and mission behind this sort of regulation that has come up, inviting, let's say, top 500 universities. If you would like to add a little bit more of nuances to this regulation in terms of the category A, category B, over to you for your opening remarks for about 5 minutes. Thank you. Handing over to Abhishek.
Thank you so much, Rohanji. I hope I am audible. Am I audible? Okay. So thank you so much, CCS team and all the panelists. So before starting my remark, I must say that I'm not speaking on behalf of Ministry of Education. I'm just sharing my own opinion. And second thing is because this topic is very much connected to all the stakeholders. So I will focus on the intention of the government instead of speaking on behalf of the government. Okay. So first thing, I believe that, yes, especially if you see the current trends. So Indian higher education segment in India has a tremendous potential for growth. And as Rohan said earlier that, see the data. If you see, we are progressing, no doubt, but we still, facing so many challenges. But if I focus on this topic only, so I believe that current system offers more viable investment avenues for private sector, and also there is a lots of opportunities for the foreign institutions. Yes, regulation and compliances, norms are the key hindrance. But if you see, especially the rules and regulations, especially in the last few years, we have seen that government has made many efforts to reform the sector by overhauling many regulatory frameworks, and also it also showing the intention to enable the access to education for all. So this is the mindset is very important. Establishing foreign university in India was in debate since long, but now at least we are having something in on paper at least, and very soon I believe that this will be implemented. So intention is very clear, and change of intention at government level, I think this will clear the path for establishing foreign universities in India beyond the political debates. The second thing is, again, I'm talking about the intention. Through a national education policy, India is trying to overhaul whole education system, starting from school education to higher education. But the main thrust is on quality education. So no doubt, in school education, I had worked many years in school education, and still we are seeing that many children are drop out. There are still issue of access and everything. But in higher education, almost similar trend is there, but still government focusing on the quality education. And through NEP, through National Education Policy, again, this intention was very much reflected that we are now focusing how we can promote India as a global study destination. And that global study destination, which will provide, again, reinstate the old glory of Takshashila, Nalanda and everything. And the keywords that was used, that we will provide the premium education at affordable cost. And again, I will use this term because this the main concern that those who believe that foreign institutes they will come in India, maybe the fee part will be the much debatable part. And if you are following the debates, ongoing debates, especially through media, this term is being used by so many people, right? That cost, the fee structure, government should have some regulation. But if you see the draft, government is saying that they will decide, but it should be reasonable. So reasonable word was used, but what will be reasonable? I think that will be decided by the universities. But the thing is, if national education policy is focusing on it, and earlier through study in India was more focusing on that how so many foreign institutes, foreign students, they should come in India, because if see the data, in 2014, one survey came, and that was showing that across the world, 50 lakh students are they are leaving their home country to pursue their higher studies from abroad. But out of 50 lakh, only 50,000 students are coming to India. So there was some change of policy, and through a study in India, government is promoting that how India is a very potential, not only potential, but also can provide a good quality education. And so many students are coming to India, but the number of students is still very less. So if you see the parliamentary committee report, so quality part was mentioned, and I just want to refer it, that at least on an experiential basis, a mechanism for ensuring the accountability and performance of faculties in the universities and college should be put in place, similar to that of foreign universities, where the performance of college professors, teachers is evaluated by their peers and students. Such performance appraisal would help improve the quality of teaching. So this was mentioned in the parliamentary committee report and recently released. So you can see the intention, why we are looking and why government is changing these norms and trying to establish the whole system. Second thing I want to focus on that, because research, collaboration, innovation, especially we all are living in 21st centuries. And in 21st century, we can't work in a silos. As Prime Minister rightly said, that we all are working in India, but we are having intention to serve to the world. And how we can serve to the world if we work in a very collaborative manner, especially in terms in area of research and innovation. The collaboration is very much needed. The students exchange program, government is focusing on it. So many exchange programs are running through the institution, through the universities, but still we have to do so many things. And here I believe that if foreign institutes will be in India, that collaboration will convert into the tangible outcome, and we can see its impact. One more thing that I want to highlight here, that if you see the data, especially the official data which was shared on the floor of the parliament, that in 2021, around 4.5 lakh students went abroad for the higher education. And they are not only going to pursue their high studies in STEM education, but also in humanities. And if you see the data this year till November, around 6.5 lakh, they went for the higher studies. So the number is growing, and the aspiration, the Indian youth aspiration is again growing, and they want to pursue the quality education where they can get the world exposure, and they can also truly become a global citizen. So here the affordability issue, the quality of education, where the foreign institutes will provide same level of education when they will establish their setup in India. These things will be a key issues. But how the foreign universities, they will ensure that especially in Indian terms, I don't think the foreign institutes will follow all the typical Indian, universities norms, like the fee structure, the other recruitment process and everything, because they are having luxury and they are being given freedom also. They can decide everything, but affordability should be the key term. And if we want to see a very successful higher education institutions, foreign education institution in India, the affordability part, the fee structure part, and quality of education at par with their institution of origin. I think these two terms, if everyone will take care, I'm seeing the bright future of all foreign institutes. We all know everything is on public domain, that when the universities will come in India, the UGC and the government will allow only those institutions who are best in their country and in overall under 500 ranking. So I think we must be very hopeful for this the whole development, and I hope that this whole system will get in place. Currently, India is already having 60,000 plus higher education institutions. So some institutions maybe I'm continuously following the media trends and everything, and I've seen some apprehensions also. But I believe that we are already having around 60,000 higher education institutions. If we have a more 100, 200, 300 institutions in form of foreign universities, I think it will add value to the Indian education system only. So with these words, I want to conclude. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rohan.
Wonderful, Abhishek. Thank you so much. You have covered quite a few points. As far as the intent part is concerned, I think the accountability, affordability, quality focus, all these are really valuable points that you have made. You also mentioned that aspiration of students, and we have actually a student to perhaps talk about that aspiration. So I'm going to invite Yuti next to make a quick comment, opening remarks essentially. On how do you as a student see this? Let's just hear on that first. Also adding to Abhishek's point, affordability, just a quick bit of data for all of us is that this 6.5 lakh or 650,000 students that go abroad spend approximately 20 billion US dollars annually on higher education. So when we talk about affordability, perhaps that's one more data point that also stands out in support of what Abhishek said. Over to you, Diti, for your comments. We also are getting a bunch of questions. So once Swati has made her remarks, perhaps we can just answer some of the questions that have come in. Is that okay, Abhishek, Swati? Yeah. All right. Diti, over to you.
Yeah, am I audible? Can you just confirm that? All right. So I am just going to be providing like a micro view because it's my opinion and what I have perceived. So when you talk about this regulation, we are talking about importing institutions, right? So it's kind of a veneer of westernization. But the question here is that are we also importing the same values which these institutions hold? Now, there's a phrasing in the draft that it prohibits universities from operating in a way which runs contrary to the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, and public order. Now, this kind of a language, if I place it, it kind of reminds me to a similar regulation which was aimed at academics in general, where the conferences hosted in partnership with foreign institutions were prohibited. Now, this comes down to shunning down opinions or dissenting views. Now, as a student or as an academic, I might have so many dissenting views. So how can these universities which function in India will open up this kind of critical thinking? Because many universities abroad have developed courses, series, conferences, workshops, and academic enterprises which promote this out-of-the-box thinking, which something which I appreciate and I encourage. In USA, universities have specifically developed free speech zones so that there is an open idea of flow. So will the same actually be there in this country? Because right now, with the trends I am seeing, there is an outright silence on the scholars and the teaching, which kind of marks as an escalation from what kind of functioning of these institutions we intend to welcome in our country. Why US universities were kind of the envy in the world because they promoted academic freedom. They provided teachers and the professors to teach and encourage students to think, and not just think, but to also challenge them on various aspects. So this kind of and escalates to freedom, economic prosperity, and innovation, which makes a country function better. Now, when you talk about liberal institutions functioning in liberal societies, they have their own ways. But when you talk about liberal institutions functioning in autocracies, yes, they can be economically beneficial, but government interference will always impede this functioning. The draft note again brings this pointer. It says that it promises the academics, the administrative, and the financial, the autonomy to function, but also takes away the assertion that they need to abide by the UGC and the Indian government from the rules that they might prescribe from time to time. So again, the question comes, what kind of values are we going to associate with these institutions when they run in India? Another question to ask yourself would be, why is there only one Silicon Valley in the world? Right? The 60s was the time of freedom and questioning the authority. Similar to why you have these prestigious institutions such as Princeton, Stanford, Oxford. Why do they just have one campus across the world? Even though there have been many, strides to introduce them in liberal regulatory environment, but it has failed. So I would say that as a student, there needs to be an intellectual and a cultural growth, which these environments provide the students. And the same setup cannot really be offered in countries that have stifled the same. For instance, Yale University had installed a similar branch with NUS in Singapore. And this particular institution has been accused of poor academic quality. And this is NUS we are talking about, another really great institution, a renowned one in the world. So why is Yale, a liberal institution, struggling to impose these same values in Singapore? Why? Because of the autocracy and the country's strict policies on free speech. Same goes for New York University in Abu Dhabi. There are various instances when you talk about this. So I would just conclude with, when you talk about intellectual growth, we focus on pluralism. And right now, we actually need to understand if this pluralism is something which would be possible in the foreseeable future in India.
Jyoti, those are some really poignant questions. So I'm not sure, not all of those will perhaps be discussed and addressed in this, but I hope that there are more such platforms where we continue discussing some of this. As far as the higher education and the universities coming to India are concerned, a quick sort of this thing is that essentially innovation, freedom, and autonomy at every level for universities to function. With these caveats, you will see this as a welcome move. Is that safe to say, or will I be putting words in your mouth?
I guess right now you'd be putting words in my mouth.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it with some positive skepticism.
Yes.
Can I say that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. So that's one mood that we have. Swati, over to you as a professor, as an alumni of a university abroad, a renowned university abroad, but just opening remarks for now, and then we'll come to more specific questions later. We do have some 5 questions from the audience, so I would just encourage all of you to keep sharing your questions. We'll take about 4 or 5 of them right after Swati has spoken. Swati, no further interruption. Over to you, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Abhishek and Jyoti. It's always good to take your lead from a student. So I'll just take up a couple of points you mentioned. So the first one, and I think you sort of spoke about this very persuasively, the question of academic freedom. And in addition to what you mentioned, I want to talk about just 2 very specific things that relate to this provision. That foreign universities that come to India can decide their syllabi and can decide how they want to admit students, so can decide their admission criteria. And actually, both of these freedoms are not available to universities in India. So there is the Common University Entrance Test, the QET, that's increasingly used. And if I remember correctly, there are now proposals to introduce it beyond the undergraduate level as well. So that's about admissions and also about syllabi, so centralization of syllabi or increasingly more and more oversight on syllabi. So I think there is some I think Rohan mentioned healthy skepticism. I think there is, even in me, a great optimism that if more universities come, I mean, of course, that's a great thing. But also, as someone who studied here first in India before going abroad, I was at Delhi University for 7 years. And I taught at Delhi University for 5 years. So that's 12 years in a public university here in India. And then about 6 years at the University of Virginia, which is also actually a public university, but in the US. And now I'm teaching at a private university in India. So just taking a step back and thinking about, my experience both as a student and as a teacher, I'm thinking if we feel that it's great to give autonomy to professors to decide their syllabi, which I absolutely think there is, that's the freedom I have now. And I didn't when I taught at the undergrad level at Delhi University. Then perhaps open it to everybody, open it up, give that freedom to all universities, including public universities. So that's the point about freedom. The second, I think, and this is taking on from what Abhishek was saying, the question of values. And here as a historian, again, just taking a step back and thinking about the context within which the modern universities, so not really talking about Nalanda, but like, let's say that the universities that we see around us today, or the kind of universities that we are talking about came to be. So what is that historical context? And in India too, I mean, colonization and then the response to it, or the opposition to it, nationalism. So under colonization, the idea that the university could produce clerks, right? Like that's why the British funded the first universities to have the skills to essentially be clerks in the colonial administration. But then the response to it, the opposition to it through the nationalist movement. So the university as a space where you cultivate citizens, where you think about what does it mean to be a citizen? What does it mean to inhabit the public space? And they're a very particular, and this is something I can attest to having been in Delhi University. And this is widely written about by those who are in the higher ed space in India, is the university is not just a space of research or a space of classroom instruction, but it is also a space where maybe for the first time, and for many of us, the only time in our lives, we meet people who are not from our socioeconomic context. So the universities have been spaces where new collectivities are fostered, where new communities emerge. So when we are thinking about more universities coming in, I think we have to think about the function of the university, not just as a space of classroom instruction and as a space of research, but also as a space where communities are formed, new communities, so again, not bound by my region, my language. And that is when Lakshmi was talking about global exposure, perhaps, that's again a more capacious way of understanding, like what does exposure mean and why is it valuable? So this is why it's valuable. So the figures that Rohan, you gave us, even with the number of universities going up, if enrollment hasn't gone up, perhaps this is another loss we need to mourn, that maybe many of us in India are not able to transcend our very immediate contexts. So in schools, we very often go to schools in our neighborhoods. We especially if it's a public, in the sense, if it's a private school that you're paying fees for. So this connects both to affordability, accessibility, but also I did want to introduce this word community, into the mix. And finally, just last point, two other questions maybe we can think about in the panel. Who can enter the university space? And what happens when you are there? So again, as a historian, going back to now the post-colonial moment, at the moment of independence, thinking about the university and particularly the question of reservation. So thinking about how do we redress historical injustice? How do we ensure that the university space is diverse? How do we ensure that it reflects the world, the country that is outside the university space? And in one sense, you could say that, it's now been 72 years of that policy, 73 now in 2023. We have opened the doors of the university, but are we providing conditions? And here I'm talking specifically about private universities, but will foreign universities do this too? Can we provide conditions for everyone to flourish? So what is happening once a student is entering a university? So is someone who's coming, taking a loan and coming into that space, what is their experience vis-a-vis what is the experience of somebody who does not perhaps need a tuition waiver? So, just for context, where I'm teaching right now, my parents couldn't have sent me to this university. And, this is in India. My PhD, of course, was fully funded, but I couldn't have gone here. So yes, it's open, but it's increasing choice, but for very few people who perhaps already had, I would argue, a lot of choice. So yeah, so again, like just ending with these two questions, who can enter? And then what happens once you enter? I think that's the harder question to answer.
Sure. Swati, before I respond to what you said, Abhishek has just momentarily dropped out because he's going to check in at the airport and join in after the security check-in. In the meanwhile, well, with education, our panelists are also going high. So that's great. I think that's wonderful.
I hope he can finish before he gets on the flight.
So we'll start. We'll carry on with the conversation if that's okay with both of you. And we will also then hear from Abhishek once he is able to join in again. And I hope it's also a quick security check-in for him. Swati, thanks for sharing your healthy sort of, let's say, optimism rather than, I would say, skepticism. And I think the questions you raised, especially from the point of view of diversity, equity, are also quite relevant. Not just in the context of foreign universities coming to India, but the existing universities that are there in India as well when we think of higher education. But that said, I think expansion of choice and having more sort of access to opportunities is definitely a key takeaway, one of the key takeaways from what you shared. If it's okay, we actually have some 7 really interesting questions that have come up from the participants. Is it okay if I just sort of quickly take one of each of those? Maybe it won't be possible to have both of you to answer on each question. So if you could just raise your hand, I think that would be great. I'll perhaps start with maybe Swati here. So the first question is, how can education be used as a tool for regional cooperation to promote peace and stability in South Asia?
I think one great model here is the South Asian University. So I don't know if the person who's asked the question is aware of that, the university, which is in Delhi, and they've just shifted their campus from Chanakyapuri to near Saket, I believe. So that's a university that's actually under the MEA mandate, and it admits students from across South Asia. So there's a quota for each country. So I think that is a really interesting model. And, maybe in one of the future discussions, since the year is just starting, we could get somebody from the South Asian University to talk about regional cooperation. But I think your larger point, how students become ambassadors. So now that, I studied in the US for, 6-7 years, I come back, I am an ambassador for the public university in the US, for the PhD system, for academic freedom, a lot of the points that Dyuti mentioned. So I do think if we can create environments for students from other countries to come here, but also, we live in a country of 1.4 billion people. So for students from far from Delhi to come to Delhi, or a Delhi student to go to Shillong or Raipur, or I think that definitely, is a plus. I don't see any like there. Of course, I think full just optimism. I don't know if that answered the question, but the South Asian University is a great model, I think. There's something about CCS, Rohan.
So you feel that it will promote regional cooperation, and then you're also
if we are able to attract students,
yes.
Definitely.
Okay, that question has come up in the chat box. I'll first answer those who are in the Q&A because they have been there for a while. So a couple of attendees haven't mentioned their names, so I'm just reading out the question. In the meanwhile, somebody mentioned that Abhishek is also back, but Abhishek, I don't see you here on the panel. So
He's there. He's there.
hey, hi Abhishek, hello. So Abhishek, just as a quick sort of good to have you back, and we are just starting with questions that have come up from the participants, and there are some 7-8 of them. Now that you are here, I'll perhaps point the next question towards you. It is a little more to do with the policy. Is it feasible to promote universities in India when most Indian students want to leave India for higher education? So that's the question.
So see, I'm not generalizing it, but those who have already they are committed that I want to pursue my higher studies from UK or US, they will go. But majority of those who are pursuing or those who are trying to avail foreign education, everyone is driving through they are having some dreams, right? Aspirational youth are having a biggest hindrance. I know so many young friends who after they have received that you can take admission in this university, but after getting that approval or after getting that information, they are running here and there to get scholarship. They are raising funds through some fundraising platforms. They are reaching out to so many institutions, individuals that I'm having a dream to pursue my higher studies from this institution because that institution is having expertise. So what I want to convey that those who are having here the money, not only money, the everything. Many parents, especially those who are having single child, I'm just saying on that perspective. So they don't want to keep their child away from their home or their country. Sometimes I'm not generalizing this term. Again, the fees is huge. They have to pay not only tuition fees. They have to pay. Suppose if I'm living in UK, I have to pay accordingly. In fact, I should have some money in my pocket also, especially to meet my friends, to have a treat. You can't think you can't see things that like in the CP where you can find so many things there, and the same place, the same thing you will find in London or maybe some other cities. So basically, the problem is the fees is not an issue, but also the other expenses, and they have to take care. So still so many parents they want their children to pursue higher studies from some reputed institutions, but they are not having money. They are having some I know one of my friends, he's good in fine arts and he want to pursue higher studies, but because his parents are not in good condition, he has to take care of him. So he can't take away, maybe he can afford any rental house or maybe other things in India, but he can't afford that. He's moving from India with their parents. So I'm talking about those cases, and I believe that especially students from tier 2, tier 3 cities, those who are having aspiration to complete their higher studies, just discuss with any random person who are completing courses from Coursera or maybe any private platforms, and how they are sharing it on a LinkedIn platform like LinkedIn, that I have completed this course from this universities. So the aspirational class is not those who are determined, those who are committed. I want to go. Those who are having luxury, those who are having everything, they will pursue their maybe some leading institutions if they are having set up in India, and they are also having original setup. They are not uprooting their everything, their roots.
Right.
So they will be there. If you want to pursue, if you are having everything, if you want to pursue your high studies, you can go there. Or if I'm having some constraint, I'm having some issues or challenges, I can pursue my studies here. So we have to see this thing in that perspective also.
Sure. Would that be okay to place the foreign universities in India on a secondary sort of this thing, that if you cannot afford to go abroad, then study here? Would that be a right promotion, do you think? But perhaps for a subsequent sort of part of the conversation, because Swati has raised her hand.
Just wanted to, sorry.
There are so many issues, but I just highlighted one or two of them only.
Sure. Thank you, Abhishek. Really important. And especially the part of affordability is something that's a very important one out of that, you stay here because it then remains within the reach of many, and it is nicely connected with access. So thanks for that. And Swati, over to you for a quick.
Wanted to add to my previous point about when students come here, does it promote, the image of India? I think the second thing and related thing here to universities is what is the experience of a foreign student who comes here? So when we talk about places like the UK or the US, I mean, I remember I got my cell phone and bank account within 2 hours. So just took my passport, my university iCard, and I was able to open a bank account. My cell phone again, like within half an hour. So are we going to create, again, not just the space of the university, but all around it, when a student tries to get a place on rent? If they want to get home, are they here on a multiple entry visa? Are we going to provide work permits? Will they be able to stay after they have finished their education if they got a job here? So we need to think about, when we think about these premier destinations for education, these are the questions that Indian students are now asking, right? Is it a 2-year work permit in the UK or, 1 year OPT, whatever in the US? So we also need to ask those questions. It isn't just about the 3 or 4 years of the degree, but everything around it.
No, that's a very important point, Swati, that the forward linkages, as we say, post the completing that higher education in these foreign universities. And I think also picking on the point that it may not just cater to Indian students, but keeping up with India's aspiration to emerge as a global leader. And we already are the largest education system. If we were to become a strongest education system, I think perhaps in some foreign students coming in is great, provided they also see India as a destination where they would like to settle down, perhaps, or look for their first job opportunity after completing their higher education. Very important point. Dyuti, we are going to come back to you right now with a question, which is a little bit around. Let's see whether you have a particular sort of say on this. Okay. This is by Naveen Bansal. He says that we want every student of India to study without worrying about competitive exams, which act as only gateway to access quality education in desired direction. Okay. How would this initiative ensure that this demand and not just following the same? So do you have any quick views, even if you just endorse the sentiment of Naveen, who has raised this question? Over to you, Diti.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't exactly endorse it. Obviously, competitive exams are being the gateway right now to education, but being someone who has given competitive examinations and didn't get into top renowned universities, I'm still here delivering a panel discussion, right? It was on my own efforts and my knowledge, which I gained on my own. So like competitive exams are there, but as per the regulations, which are like being in the draft note, there's no mention as such of the similarity, whether the competitive exams are going to be the pathway or not. So there's not much I can comment about it, but I do not think like exams are the only way to ensure the quality of education, because again, the question comes here between the art of cracking entrance exams or whether you're actually really smart. So that's the thing that needs answers too. So that's something which I would just leave out here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Diti. We also, panelists, I have a quick sort of confirmation that I needed from you. We have 10 questions. Is it okay if we address the questions and also then you add your views related to the entire sort of, is that okay if we follow that flow rather than coming to you with one question each? Is that okay?
Sure.
Swati, Abhishek, is it okay with you? Dyuti, is it okay with you? Swati has given a strong excited nod. All right, wonderful. Thank you. So we have a couple of questions which are both related to the same sort of theme. Hence, I'm asking both, pointing them towards Abhishek, because It's a little bit to do with the data that has gone into policy formation, etc. These are from, one is from Binita Tamboli. Is there any data on the percentage of students who went abroad for study who came back to India after their higher education? So that's one question that's there. And there is another one which is specifically written that it's for Abhishek. Just give me a moment because there are, okay. It's by an anonymous attendee that I have a question for Abhishek sir. He mentioned that the number of students coming to India is low. So this will promote India as a global study destination. In this context, is the priority promoting foreign students coming to India, or is this for the betterment of Indian students who will hopefully not have to spend that much? I think you have covered a bit of this, Abhishek, before, but happy to hear again from you. Over to you, Abhishek, for your responses.
Personally, I'm not having any data that how many those who have availed their higher studies from foreign universities and how many of them are working in India. But I just want to say one line that, see, because the intention through this regulation or this whole provision is that foreign universities will set up their campus in India and they will have, everyone has talked about it. The one line I want to share that, see, if foreign universities are coming in India, they will come with their USP also, right? Those we have discussed so many things, but just imagine that those who are coming in India, they are setting up, and if you see the draft regulation, the two and three two things every if you see the each and every para, they are mentioning that the first thing is it should be at par with their original institution, right? In terms of quality, in terms of the syllabus and everything. So suppose if they are setting up in India, any institution, they are setting up their infrastructure in India, and they are providing something which is not matching with the original ones. So again, any students, they can reach out to the UGC and or the authority, and they can raise this issue. But the focus is on that if any institution they want to establish any setup in India, they have to provide similar education with similar set of processes, similar set of benefits, and similar set of education exposure and everything. One more thing, Swati was saying that, especially related to work permits and everything. So I think this issue is very much, I think I must encourage you all that submit your submission, because still UGC is, inviting suggestions and feedback so that final version can be, this point can be added. I believe that if you are inviting foreign universities in India, we have to create such enabling environment for, especially for the foreign students who are coming in India and availing their
and for
education.
faculty too, foreign faculty as well.
Yes. So everything. Such ecosystem we have to nurture, and right now things are very changing rapidly, and I'm not saying that any foreign universities will set up any university in some remote area. As of now, definitely they will choose metro cities or the place where they will get. But the issue is if they are coming in India and there are some especially work permit related issues. So these kind of things deserves special attention, and definitely those who are involved in it, definitely they will look into it. But right now, the providing options is the one part. The second thing is getting similar kind of education in India. So it's like a extended version of Make in India. That yes, you are having your technology and everything, but you should make in India. You should use your expertise, potential, resources, and that way, those who are interested to pursue their higher studies, they should get an opportunity. So that thing we have to think upon. And other things, I think, when they will establish, definitely each and every institution will have this. There will be, they have to abide the Indian rules and regulations, but definitely the draft rules is giving autonomy, freedom, and again, this is again a debatable topic between Indian universities, that if we are providing such luxury, such freedom to them, why are we not providing to us? So these debates will go on, and I think here the main beneficiary, the Indian students, they should get the quality education, and they're also getting something which is in their dream, that I want to pursue my education from some reputed institution, but due to some constraint or due to some reasons, I'm not availing it. Or maybe if in India that setup will be there, I can avail it easily.
Sure.
So whole debate should be taken.
Thank you. Thank you.
In that way.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to thoda sa speed this up because just the volume of questions, and I think it's a dream situation for any panel discussion to have that many spontaneous questions from the audience. The next one is clearly, although it's not intended to be, may I please request all of you to be rapid fire a little bit with the answers. So candid answers, rapid answers, and interesting answers. All right. So the next question is for Dyuti, because it's very quite related to what she's previously said. Are there global examples of leading universities setting up campuses outside home countries in large numbers and sustaining it over a reasonable period of time? Why would India be different? Here we go.
Right. So I already spoke about this. There have been many examples, like Yale University and NUS had installed this outpost in Singapore. New York University is there in Abu Dhabi. Aberystwyth University is in there in Mauritius. Then Glasgow Caledonia University was there in New York. But all of these universities kind of shut down after a significant amount of time because of many reasons, like because the infrastructure was there, but the academic quality which you need was not there. The faculties were not there. And like I mentioned before, the quality that you expect, like the challenge that a student might expect in the country was not there. So I think whether India would be able to replicate this and not fail is for history to judge whether these models were not successful in these countries and if it would be successful in India. So that's up to us to see now.
Thank you, Dyuti, for those comments. The next one is pointed towards Swati. The person hasn't mentioned their name. So we also need to think if this move would worsen the disparity during recruitments after graduation among students studying in these foreign universities versus those studying in foreign universities abroad. Do you think there would be biases regarding that? I think, maybe you can actually also talk so much about.
I think the short answer is yes. Right. And that's why students want to go abroad, because they feel it makes them more competitive. So definitely the short answer is yes, it might worsen those biases. But I think the slightly longer answer is it might create more opportunities. So, it sort of increases the size of the pie, as we often say at CCS. So it isn't that, the pie is of a limited size and then we are sort of all fighting over it. It might create more jobs, it might create more opportunities. So it might make Indian students who've studied in an Indian campus of a foreign university more competitive for jobs abroad. So I might never have gone abroad, but I might be competitive if I have a degree from NYU Delhi, more competitive than I might have been with a degree from Delhi University for a job in Singapore. So in the short term, maybe yes, but the long term remains to be seen.
Sure. Thank you, Swati. We have our next question from one of the participants, Dennis, who also represents Students for Liberty. He has, of course, commended this as a bold move by the Indian government, very impressive. But what's the research that has gone into? So did our policymakers do any specific research on the interest of foreign universities before coming up with the idea to invite them here? So what their interest could be? And are foreign universities actually looking forward to setting up campuses in India? Also, how do we forecast the outcomes of this policy change, or perhaps what are the sort of indicators of success for this? For those who know or don't know, the initial invitation to the foreign universities is for 10 years and subject to review of their performance after 10 years. There are two types of universities we are looking at: the top 500 universities globally and some universities which are known for specific disciplines or specific streams. So category A and B with a tenure of 10 years. Now, whether any research has gone into it, perhaps maybe Abhishek can answer that, but what could be their interests? Maybe Swati can comment a little bit about that too. What could be the interest of the foreign universities looking to set up campuses in India? And perhaps, sorry, last one, how do we forecast the outcomes of this policy change? I think rather than what the draft says, let's, if we can hear from each of the panelists, what success looks like to them after, let's say, 10 years of universities in India. Let's hear from each one of you. So Abhishek, over to you for a quick comment on the research that has gone in. Swati, over to you for what could their interests be? And then open to all three, Dyuti, Abhishek, Swati, to quickly comment on how do we forecast success of this after 10 years. Over to you, Abhishek. Abhishek is mute and camera off. May I roll it forward to Swati for now, and then once Abhishek is back, we'll go back to him. Swati, over to you.
So again, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I believe there was a similar proposal in 2010, which was tabled about inviting foreign universities. And I believe at that time, what I remember reading was not many foreign universities were keen to come to India at the time. And many had in fact said that they were already working in collaboration with Indian universities. And that's the model that was more feasible for many of the reasons that Dyuti has outlined. So in 13 years, some things might have changed, but some things actually might not have changed. So I don't know what success looks like. I think if the overall enrollment of percentage of students enrolled in universities goes up and students graduating from these universities also goes up. So that would be what success looks like to me. Yeah.
Okay, so if it broadens the access. And the second one was?
So not just students entering university, but those who manage to graduate.
All right, so retention and access, both access as well as retention as the two key indicators of success. Thanks, Swati. Thank you for that. Dyuti?
For me, success would be like if they can take a student with, say, a lower score in academics and turn them into global leaders of tomorrow. I would say that would be success for me. But moreover than that, then allowing them to develop new ideas, challenging the authorities and questioning what kind of leadership we have. So like Swati had mentioned, outside the box thinking. So not just education is not a sandbox. You're allowed to explore new perspectives. So I think if India allows this to all students, not just the ones, the institutions which are going to be set up or not, but everyone. I think that would how success would look like for me.
Sure. Thanks, Dyuti. Thank you for that. Abhishek, great to have you back, and thank you for all the effort you're making to just be on this panel. Really appreciate that. There was a quick sort of question pointed to you saying that what kind of research has gone into coming up with this regulation, or is there any research that has happened before coming up with this regulation?
I'm because I'm not a part of this whole system, so I can't comment. But if you see the history, at least I can surely say in last 10 to 12 years, this debate is going on that foreign universities should be allowed in India or not. I think the main trigger point for this regulation is new education policy, national education policy, which is somehow beyond the political debates and everything. It's a kind of clear the path for the foreign universities in India. That when on other side we are saying that our universities should open their campuses in foreign destination, you also have to allow them. The second thing is so many institutions are collaborating with foreign universities, foreign faculties are coming, and in fact some exchange programs are running on. So definitely that these things are impacting or adding value to the institutions. So no doubt this also added in this whole progress that we must, if any universities, they are collaborating with any foreign universities and they are getting benefited of it. So suppose if we will have that campus in India, maybe that such collaboration will happen. So for me, the real outcome will be that all these high performing institutions those who are having legacy of research, innovation in any field. If they are coming in India, and if they are collaborating with Indian universities, Indian students, and they are sharing that value, that USP, okay, and India is getting benefited from it. I think that will be the real outcome. I'm not worried about the numbers. I'm not worried about the how many campuses are being opened here in India, but I'm more hopeful that if they are coming in India, they are coming with their value, and they are helping especially the Indian education system to become a more robust, more kind of aligned with the 21st century needs, and is addressing the Indian challenges, and also they are developing Indian students or those who are availing that education in India. We are transferring our global vision for this country, for the world. So that thing will be the real outcome for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Abhishek, you are able to stay on to this panel, no? We have another 15 minutes left, just to make sure that otherwise I can point a couple of questions to you before and then carry on with the conversation.
No, so I have to wind up because I'm having 6:30. So I'm just outside the, I'm trying to.
Oh, I see. Okay, so can I just perhaps instead of making you to now answer another question, any sort of quick concluding remarks from your side before you go on to board your flight, like in terms of just the sort of, I know you share the optimism, which is clear right from the start. You also talked about what success looks like in the next, let's say, 10 years time. There is one consistent question that's there in the questions that have come in as well. That do you see foreign universities coming in somewhere as a failure that our own educational ecosystem has not sort of delivered or has improved? Do you see this as a sort of like a reaction?
Personally, I don't believe so. Because again, I said that India is already having more than around 60,000 institutions. What we are doing, we are just adding few more institutions. Okay? Because, and here just only one term is being used, the foreign university, the foreign institutions, right? Because if you are allowing any institutions to work in India, again, that needs separate regulations, norms, and everything. Okay, as I said earlier, that when so many institutions, so many reputed institutions across the world, they are working successfully with so many, not only with IIM and IITs, but also they are collaborating with many private universities and institutions. There are so many exchange programs are running on. So I don't think this should be seen that, because we are not doing anything and that is why we are allowing and they will come and they will change everything. No, I think we are just allowing some institution, those who are not having origin in India. And what we are saying, if you see the regulations and everything, because they are having different kind of setup, they are having a different kind of financial structure and everything. So the main challenging part was, if you are allowing any foreign universities in India, whether they will be governed through the typical this existing structure, existing norms and condition, or they will have some separate things, right? I'm not here. I don't want to use all those political things here, but the opposition and the position for this whole foreign universities thing, if you follow the parliament debate on this topic, or if you follow the questions in the parliament, you will see the pattern that apprehension is more focused on they will not follow Indian rules, the affordability will be the biggest issue, they will misuse the place, something like that. But the focus is on, if they are coming in India, they will come with their USP. And their USP is that they are the leading institutions in terms of their expertise. Maybe they are in microbiology or other field, emerging fields, and not only the STEM education, but also in some of the finest institutions in the world who are providing quality education for the fine arts students, maybe music. They should come also India, and India is having huge potential. India is having huge deserving students, and I think if if they are coming in India, definitely they will add value. Definitely they have to follow the Indian rules and regulations. Some apprehensions are very genuine, but maybe when they will set up their campus in India, I think after 4 or 5 years, we will be able to comment that what kind of challenges or what kind of opportunities they are creating and what are the outcomes. So right now, we should not be apprehensive with the, while seeing the existing ecosystem or existing education system.
Sure.
Right?
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Abhishek, for joining us, and we'll let you be and peacefully board your flight. Have a safe flight.
Have a safe flight.
Thank you so much.
You go high and we continue with higher. So that's really, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful insights from you. And I think there are a couple of questions which I think are a little bit more of comments. So I'm just giving them a pass for now, since there are actually questions as well. So one is from Naveen Bansal, considering about demographic dividend potential India has, how foreign universities can help in it and not augment the outflow of skilled workforce by using resources of our country instead. Do you have any say on this, either Jyoti or Swati, that basically the fear that universities will use resources of India and send workforce outside? Any quick comment reaction? Unfortunately, Naveen, panelists don't have any say, nor does the moderator. I do feel that the workforce is mobile, and that mobility has actually made the world that we live in today. So perhaps the foreign universities may or may not actually particularly make a big difference to that movement of workforce that has been, or human beings in general, has been happening for centuries. Jyoti, you have raised your hand. Is there something you would like to comment? Yes, please go ahead.
Just adding on to that, I mean, at the end, it comes to the individual's choice, right? If they want to work in India or not, they might prefer to stay in India and work, or they might just prefer to go abroad and work. So it's totally up to you where you want to pursue your further career in.
Sure. Thank you, Diti. We have something related to NEP 2020 and technology, which is quite important. So perhaps I'll take that, which is from Surbhi Tandon. National Education Policy 2020 promotes technology in education as well as MOOCs and digital education. But do these guidelines bring courses and degrees already available through MOOCs, through Coursera or edX or other platforms available for credit transfer? This is from Surbhi Tandon, who's a PhD candidate at IP University, New Delhi. Okay, one quick sort of response to that from the pure draft regulation point of view, that in fact online education or anything online courses are not allowed for these universities, and they're meant to run all their courses offline. So that's one of the provisions in the regulation. Having said that, the credit transfer of online courses into offline, I think I at least don't have a particular say on it. The regulation doesn't specifically comment on that. Jyoti, you had momentarily raised your hand. Is there something you wanted to add here?
No, I just didn't lower my hand from previous.
Achha, okay. All right. So Surbhi, unfortunately, we don't have any deeper perspective to offer, nor from the draft regulation point of view. I hope that keeping up with the times and a lot of higher education, particularly the skills learning moving online, that credit transfer happens. We also do believe in the power of markets. These are both universities as well as the service providers such as edX, Coursera are good market players. Perhaps they find a way to collaborate so that they keep up with the market trends. The demand is towards online education, and then that merging happens with foreign universities. So I think we'll just express that hope as far as that question is concerned. There are a couple of questions from Mr. From J.M. Jerath. Are we assuming that Indian universities cannot provide what is expected from foreign universities? I think we have answered that. How can standards in Indian universities be raised? And our experience with private universities does not show much change in the standards of public universities. So do we expect the entry of foreign universities to that extent increased competition? Do you think it will push the local universities, whether government or private, to raise the bar and move the needle on the quality that they offer? Swati, you have raised your hand. I think.
So if it is up to them to move the needle, right? So I think that's the point that we've been making, that public universities and private universities don't follow the same regulations. So if in a public university, and I think this also relates to a previous question, Rohan, you had asked, what is the dream? What is the hope? So one of the hopes, perhaps, like I have as someone who's taught now in the university system for over a decade, is maybe we will settle this debate, and we will no longer have to, maybe this debate about should universities have the autonomy to decide their syllabi, to decide their exam structures, to decide what their admission policy should be, who they should recruit with what degrees, and how they should promote them or not promote them. Perhaps we will discover because we are providing this autonomy to the foreign universities that are coming in. We also actually incidentally provide this autonomy to, or increased autonomy to, institutes of eminence within the current sort of university system within India. So perhaps this will be the consensus that yes, maybe universities should have this freedom. And individual professors or a board within a college or a university should have the freedom to decide what goes on their syllabi and how they examine their students. And if this carries over, if we provide the same freedom, having seen the success of a private university or a foreign university, we extend this to public universities, then maybe. So currently we are, the regulations are not the same for both. So it's not comparing like with like.
Perfect. Thank you. I think at this point, we will bring a sort of close to this conversation, simply looking at the clock that's ticking. It's 6:30. We have had a wonderful sort of participation from the participants. Thank you so much for all your questions. I'm aware that some of the questions from Dr. Minarul, Binita Tamboli, Navin, Parul, we haven't been able to answer. But this panel discussion, of course, is a start of the conversation and continuing the ongoing conversation that's there. The regulation is fairly new. With any draft, in general, the invitation is to comment from the public. I would encourage you to go check it out, UGC website and maybe Ministry of Education's website. If there is a space, do submit your questions and comments to the ministry as well. That's one invitation for all of you to participate in public policy issue as it's live. Thanks so much, Swati, and thank you so much, Jyoti, for joining us and for all your rich insights. It's been wonderful hearing both of you. Thanks for your patience with all the different questions and being so sort of candid about with your answers. Thank you so much. With this, I'm going to bring this panel discussion to a close. I'm going to now request Dr. Carlson Klein, Regional Director of Friedrich Naumann Foundation, which is the regional office of which is based in New Delhi here in India. Dr. Klein, may I please request you to take it over from here and share your views, please. Also, sorry to keep you waiting. As you can see, the panel discussion just kept going on and on with all the questions. Thank you for your patience, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much to all of you, panelists and our moderator, and especially our audience. It was really great to see this very vibrant discussion going on. And unfortunately, as you said, we had to come to an end. But I promise also together with our friends from CCS that we are going to continue this series. Well, yes, as Mrs. Goyal has mentioned, today is United Nations International Day of Education, founded in 2018 by the General Assembly of the United Nations. And this year's special motto is both focusing on girls and focusing on women also in our region, namely women in Afghanistan, who are obviously deprived of their human right to education. So it's good to have that date as a day of remembering all those particular challenges and also problems, but also opportunities. And I think it is really a great step, foreign universities in India, because they not only allow Indian students the opportunity, by the way, also those who come from a more modest background, to study here in the country, but also give, for example, South Asian students the opportunity. As rightly mentioned, there is, for example, the excellent example of South Asian University. And I really hope that other foreign universities, that other Indian universities will take this opportunity to open their doors, especially for more integration here in South Asia, for more interaction. Because as you rightly said, opening the universities means to bring in more different culture, to bring in their unique selling points, but to also bring just a variety of more networks, of more job opportunities, also of more communities. So thank you very, very much for this excellent discussion we had. Let me please briefly mention that Friedrich Naumann Foundation here in South Asia pursues liberal values, and that we are happy to have CCS, Center for Civil Society, as our partner. We, as I said, cooperate here in the field of these webinars, but we also cooperate, Mrs. Goyal, in the field of training, for example, teachers and others, to empower them with techniques and skills of modern education. Let me also underline that we, of course, keep on working on the pan-South Asian integration. And I just only would like to mention that, for example, in Nepal, we have some ready partner organization, and they, together with us, do a lot of commitment regarding training, especially students, young professionals, and also professors on entrepreneurship and on economic development. So again, coming back to our panelists, thank you, Mr. Ranjan. Have a very good flight. Thank you very, very much, dear Mrs. and Dr. Chawla. You are, and that makes us extremely happy and proud. You are one of our alumnus, so that opportunity is also there here with Friedrich Naumann Foundation to get a scholarship. Thank you very much, Mrs. Pandya, for your wonderful insights. All the best for your further studies, and not to forget our moderator, Mr. Joshi, for your continuous and good support. Again, Mr. Frank from the RWTH Aachen, all the best. I think you showed very clearly how much energy you brought as one of the leading universities in Germany into India, and let's really hope that that open policy allows and really gives the spirit also to other universities to come also to this interesting hub of education, namely India. Thank you again, Mrs. Goyal, and especially thanks also to your excellent team for always supporting us in this excellent series. I think especially this program and picking right the right panelists that came from your side. That was again a great commitment. Thanks to CCS. Yeah, and please let me also highlight that we have a very good team here in our South Asia office of Friedrich Naumann Foundation. Thanks to Nupur Hasija, our program manager, our senior program manager, Tenzin Paljo, Manju Mishra, and Mrs. Saxena for giving us the opportunity to have this series tonight. Dear audience, again, thank you very much to all of you. Keep on following us on social media channels. As I said, we will definitely continue the series of webinars. We offer scholarship programs like other foundations as well. And yeah, just keep in touch with us. We are always very happy for comments, for your social media commitment. And please also join us if you have got other ideas for this webinar series. With that, I thank you all. Have a very, very good night, and stay good, prosperous, and healthy, and stay educated. Thanks a lot. Bye. Okay.